You never listen. How many times have we been on the giving or receiving end of that statement? And neither place is a very good place to be. But if we're being honest, all of us are really lousy listeners. Wait, did I hear you say, I'm not? I'm a great listener. Well, are you really? Here is a 9-item checklist to help you figure out how good a listener you really are. The more of these you get wrong, the worse of a listener you are. So be honest. Item number 1. You're in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden you realize that you completely didn't hear a word of what was said the last 10, 20, 30 seconds of the conversation. Item 2, you check your phone or other gadgets while you're in a conversation. Item 3, you're tapping your fingers, tapping your feet, drumming on the table, sighing, rolling your eyes, not establishing eye contact, or continually shifting in your seat or on your feet. Item number 4, you forget the name that somebody just told you when they introduced themselves. Item number 5, you ask people to repeat themselves or ask questions about things that have already been addressed. Item number 6, you interrupt. Item number 7, you're formulating a response while the other person is still talking. Item number 8, you feel that you know what the person is going to say before they complete their sentence, and you sometimes even complete their sentences for them. Item number 9, you make judgments or jump to conclusions about what the person is saying or about the person before they are done talking. So, how did you do? If you were being honest, I bet you checked off way more items than you would have wanted to. Hello everyone, my name is Bakul Soman, and today we're going to talk all about listening, why it is important, why it is so hard, and how we can get better at listening. So let's get started. We always like to start with the why, right? Why is listening important? Listening is an express way to building trust. And we've already talked about in my previous videos about how trust is the underlying foundation of good relationships. So listening leads to trust, trust leads to good relationships. So listening leads to good relationships. So if you're a good listener, you can be a better friend. Carl Menninger said, listening is a magnetic and strange thing, a creative force. The friends who listen to us are the ones we move forward. When we are listened to, it creates us. It makes us unfold and expand. I just love that quote. You can be a better colleague at work. You can be a better leader. Richard Branson said, one of the most valuable skills a leader can have is the ability to truly listen. You can be a better spouse. Some anonymous wise soul said, listening is an act of love. It is an act of connection, of empathy, of kindness. So, listening is pretty important. But then why is it so hard? There are quite a few reasons for this. There are some physiological reasons in terms of how our brain works. The fundamental reality is that our brain is able to think way faster than we are able to speak. So when you're listening, you are taking in the words that the speaker is saying, but that the rate at which those words are coming to you is way slower than the rate at which your brain can think. So you have all these spare cycles in your brain, and that's where we get in trouble. We use those spare cycles. Instead of using those spare cycles to do things related to the act of listening, we use those spare cycles to do other things, and that's what gets us in trouble. There are environmental reasons as well that make it harder. If the environment is a noisy environment, then listening is hard because there are a lot of built-in distractions. Sometimes the noise is not physical noise. It could be noise in your head. Maybe there's a lot of thoughts going through. Maybe something's going on that has your brain kind of frazzled, and then you're not able to listen because of the noise up here. We're also going to refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're not feeling safe or secure in a given circumstance, in a given situation, your brain is not in a ready to learn, ready to listen mode. You are in self-preservation mode, and you're not really going to be able to focus on what somebody else is saying to you. Sometimes there can be linguistic factors as well. If they have a very thick, heavy accent, if their English is not fluent, or whatever language, doesn't have to be English. It's broken, lots of mistakes, maybe lots of filler words, maybe they stutter. All of those things, those characteristics of somebody's speech and language usage can make listening hard as well. There can be a mismatch between speaking style and listening style, and that can cause distractions. That can cause somebody to be more easily distracted. There was a very interesting article in the International Journal of Listening in 1995. This was by Watson, Baker, and Weaver, and they identified 4 listening styles. There is a people-oriented listening style, and when a person using this style is listening, their focus is to try and understand the person better. There's an action-oriented listening style. They're trying to assess, what do you want? Task-oriented, tell me what to do. There is a content-oriented listening style. So they're trying to assess the validity of what you're saying. Do the facts support what you're saying? Is the evidence valid? And there is a time-oriented listening style. Get to the point, concise, brief, boom, move on. So if there's a mismatch, then that's going to cause challenges in listening. There are also a lot of biases that come into play. They act as filters. If we have a bias against the topic, or if we have a bias against the speaker, then we already have, our shutters are already kind of down in some sense. We're not really taking in objectively and analytically what the other person is saying. Those filters cause us to shut down and not listen. And then, of course, our ego. We do not like to be proven wrong. So while we're listening, we are, and if it's contrary to what we have come to believe, whatever our position is on a given topic, we are constantly looking for ways to rebut that person's argument. That is leading to degraded listening. Here is one additional reason listening is so very hard. We are not ever trained in how to listen. We are trained in so many other facets. Nobody just expects us to know something without learning it, right? We are trained in how to read. We're trained in how to write. We are trained in how to cook, how to do the job we do. But nobody teaches us how to listen. People just expect that because we can hear, we have the ability to listen. The purpose of listening is understanding the message that the other person is trying to convey to you. It is not to wait for your turn to speak. How many of us do that instead of true listening? What is the cost of poor listening? The cost of poor listening is very, very high. It causes misunderstandings. There's a lot of effort and time that is expended trying to communicate. It degrades relationships because remember, listening, trust, relationships. Poor listening, lack of trust, poor relationships. So how can we become a better listener? The good news is we can. It is something we can practice and learn to be better at. So here are some things that you can do to become a better listener. 1, very simple, make a choice to listen. So when you engage in a conversation with someone, say that to yourself, I am going to listen. And that by itself is going to put your mind in a more receptive frame. Stay in the moment. Don't check your gadgets. Don't think about what you need to make for dinner. Again, this is linked to that that intentional choice of listening, right? I choose to listen. I choose to focus on what you're saying, and I choose to not do other things while I'm listening to you. Do not multitask. This is a topic for a video all on its own, but today, let's just say multitasking degrades severely the quality of our listening. So don't multitask. Be open. We talked about those filters, those shutters that come down because of the biases we have against a speaker or against a topic. So be open, be curious, open your mind, open your heart. The Dalai Lama has this absolutely beautiful quote. He said, when you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you may learn something new. I just love that. So be open to learning something new. Get the idea behind the facts. The facts are there to support the main idea, but don't get caught in the facts. Make sure you understand the main idea. Don't not see the forest for the trees. Get the emotional tone of the message, right? A lot of what is said outside of the words, on top of the words, our body language, our tone. Pay attention to all of that, because all of that connects to the words, and that is what gives us the full meaning of what is being said. So pay attention to those emotional, what as speech pathologists we call the suprasegmental. So it's all the things that are on top of the words. Check back in with your understanding. So you could say something like, so what you're saying is, or what I heard you say is XYZ. There's a lot of positives built into that. One, the speaker recognizes that you're really invested in that conversation, that you're really paying attention, and that's a huge boost. And two, on your end, you are confirming that what you think you understand is accurate. Last but not the least, practice. Just like any other skill, listening is a skill that we need to practice. And the more we practice it, the better we can get at it. It's like muscles, right? If you want to build a specific muscle, you have to work that muscle, right? All of us have super overdeveloped talking muscles. So let's give those a rest and let us really start building those listening muscles. The incomparable Mark Twain said, if we were supposed to talk more than we listen, then we would have had 2 tongues and 1 ear. Well, we all act like we have way more tongues than ears. So let's try and fix that. Let's start practicing listening. True, intentional listening. And you will see how you can level up your performance in all aspects of your life by truly listening. Thank you for watching, and let's thrive together.